broadcasting from across the North American continent of the Terran Empire, bringing you our unpopular Star Trek opinions since 2020. This is Code 47.
And we are back again. Code 47 podcast on the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. An interesting evening full of some hijinks that we're not going to discuss related to technology, but we're here now, and that's all that matters. I am Charlie Carden, captain of the USS Grand Petoskey, a chapter of the Starfleet Star Trek International Fan Club here in West Michigan, joined by my cohort, crewman number, are we up to number 9? Number nine. Crewman number 9, Peter Stein. Peter, good evening.
Good evening, Captain.
Oh, gotcha. Well, my goodness. Well, we're not going to waste any time at all. Under the 1 minute mark, we're just going to jump right into the show without a lot of hullabaloo. But I decided to steal something from SFU Prime. And this may not work every week, but back in the 80s when VHS tapes were being cranked out either on the regular market, or you get them from Columbia House or whatever. They would put one tape on one VHS, and they would number them. So I managed to find one numbered 60, which is of course the number of this episode that we're on right now, from the original series, from the much horror generated by season 3 of TOS, which we've not gotten to in this program. Actually, today we'll be talking about part 2 of 4 of the second season. But in season 3, early in season 3, we had the episode, And the Children Shall Lead. Peter, do you know this episode?
Not a great episode.
Not a great episode. Well,
No.
I mean, you basically had what looked like, an old guy in a bathrobe. He was sparkly. He was summoned by a bunch of kids. A couple things I can tell you about the kids is that one of them was a character actor a kid who grew up to be character actor Phil Morris, who appeared in Star Trek 3 as a cadet extra. He was a Klingon a couple different times I believe in maybe a DS9 and maybe again in Voyager. We saw him in Voyager. He was I think he was an astronaut from the past who Voyager had to rescue. He was the Johnny Cochran ripoff in Seinfeld, if you're a Seinfeld fan. Jackie such and such, I can't remember. And then the other one was the Asian American child grew up to be not only an extra in an episode of TNG where he was at the con, but he was also one of the original Ninja Turtle actors in the 1990 Ninja Turtle movie.
Wow, that I did not know. That's interesting.
Weird trivia that you can only get from the source. Episode originally aired on 10/11 of 1968. So filling your head up with more useless knowledge and an ugly image of a dumb episode. So moving on to some content that's a little more worthwhile. We are digging into season 4 of Star Trek Discovery. Since the last time we were on, we have had 2 episodes drop. Episodes 2 and episodes 3. So we're just going to go through them. Peter, go ahead and read that first description. Episode 2, or season 4, episode 2.
So episode 2 is called Anomaly. Description: Saru returns to help the Discovery uncover the mystery of an unusually destructive new force. As Burnham leads the crew, she must also find a way to help Book cope with an unimaginable loss.
Shom. Yep. So this episode had the not so ignominious. Ignominious. Thank you very much. Honor of being the first episode of any series to have a recycled episode name, which I think is completely unnecessary. I mean, that right off the bat, this shared the title of an episode or a season 3 episode of Star Trek Enterprise.
And
again, the space anomaly is the most played out stereotype in all of Star Trek. So my question to you, Peter, is: did this episode rise above its title? I mean, right off the bat, I'm calling this episode recycled. This episode of our show, because this is some just recycled junk. I just don't like it. I mean, so break it down for me.
Yeah. So like the only thing that makes it a little different, I think, like I agree with you. It's basically just a thing in space. let's scan thing in space. That's pretty much all it is. Like that's the
Right.
entire episode. And like Next Generation has done it better, where it's like more things happen, or there's a more there's like a B and a C plot.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, this was all very cut and dry. You had speaking of very dry, you had the new Federation president again, Laria Rilak, who of course was Baltar's lawyer from BSG, which is how I continue. Oh, by the way, I'm sporting the sister vessel of the USS Grand Petoskey, the Battlestar Petoskey, on my T-shirt tonight. So
nice.
Yeah,
I thought she looked familiar. I could not place her.
Yes, indeed.
That makes sense.
Part of BSG, Battlestar Group 47. Just a little something extra I created, I thought. And then in my headcanon, the Battlestar Petoskey was present at the Scorpion shipyards when the Battlestar Pegasus was able to escape. The Battlestar Petoskey meant it's Waterloo. But anyway, total sidebar that has absolutely nothing to do with this. Yeah, I just and again we get Saru back. He's back in uniform.
Yeah,
he still has he still has a captain's rank, but takes on the XO role, which is not unprecedented. It was the same thing.
I mean, Spock did it.
In the TOS films.
It's definitely they're trying to do the Admiral Kirk, Captain Spock bit from Wrath of Khan onwards. I don't know how well it's going to work.
Right, exactly.
Because with Kirk and Spock, with Kirk and Spock, because of who Spock is, as he repeatedly says, "Captain, I have no ego to bruise," and all that, like, there's not really going to butt heads in the same way. So I'm like, I'm curious to see what they're going to do with this.
Right, and with Saru and Burnham, that's all they've ever done, and now they're playing nice. Like
since episode 1,
I found exactly. Like, well, you killed our mentor. I'm like, well, I don't know how you come back from that. I mean, so it's a little
that was
difficult.
One thing that I actually liked in episode 1 of Discovery. Was the sort of like kind of I hate you, but I don't back and forth between the two, because it was actually like interesting banter,
right?
But then it just became, now we're just gonna sit here and butt heads. Like, okay,
right, whatever. Exactly. So yeah, this does give us a little shift around. We get to visit a different star base, and we get to meet some kind of throwaway characters, like the guy who commands the base is like, well, I don't really care about this guy, and he died. Okay, whatever. And again, for me, and then there's obviously a little bit of interplay, obviously with Burnham and Book with their relationship, and and that
actually worked fairly well, I thought.
Yeah, it's one of the notable lines quoted at the bottom. Saru says to Burnham, "Perhaps now is the appropriate time for you to set aside captain in favor of partner. So stop being such a badass and be a good girlfriend." You know what I mean? I mean that strikes true of any office romance. You know what I mean? I guess sometimes you got to hang the hat up. So, this one I'm happy to recycle it and pass it right back over
into the matter reclamator with it.
Exactly. This did have a nice touch, which we see as a payoff in the next episode, of a Sung type android being created for the body of Gray, which I think ends up working. I think it's kind of cool how they're creating it by hologram. She's like, well, I don't like the mole on the web of my hand. They remove it, so it's just little personal touches. I also get a nice call back to Philippa Georgiou's telescope, which is now over 1,000 years old, which is in Burnham's quarters. So that's pretty cool. But again, touching upon kind of what you had talked about. So anyhow, not my favorite episode. I will call it recycled. But I was super enthused about episode 3, in particular, just because of this, the title of it, and the character who we originally heard speak this, who I had the pleasure of meeting last year at C2E2 in Chicago, which I'll actually be going to again this weekend. I'm meeting my two best friends, including Todd, who runs our sister podcast, Secret Friends Unite Prime, and John, who is our other college roommate. We've not all hung out together in the same place in 20 years, which is completely crazy. But
cool.
I know it happens with college roommates. People move away and different stuff happen. But this was the line "Choose to Live" is spoken by Elnor, one of the cast of the Warrior Nuns, who I keep forgetting the name of that.
Quat Malash.
Quat Malash, thank you very much. Which they existed in the ancient times, and they exist 1,000 years after Picard. Because what happens, the episode opens up on a Starfleet vessel delivering a dilithium shipment, and it's hijacked by pirates who end up being these Quat-Malat Romulan warriors who are attempting to snag the dilithium for their own purposes. There's some back and forth. The Commander Fickett, who's the commander of the vessel, who's trying to defend it, she tells him choose to live as they struggle, but they keep fighting, and she then kills him in self-defense. This does not suit so great, obviously, when we get back to Federation headquarters. We see President Terina of Navarre, which is the shared formerly Vulcan homeworld, which houses the Vulcan and the Romulan people, Admiral Vance, Burnham, and of course our very favorite Federation president as well. But we do get the return of Gabriel Burnham, Captain Burnham's mother, blah, 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 blah. I can speak with words. Who is, of course, a Quat-Malat as well. So we jump into a super cool, very Star Trek-y kind of plot line. Things are not as they seem as Tilly joined. Tilly's going through this kind of crisis of conscience and stuff with her career, which is kind of boring the shit out of me. I don't know.
Yeah, she's having like a midlife crisis, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, and she's 19 or 20, and it's just I'm kind of stretching out on Tilly right now so far.
It's like I get what they're trying to do, but I don't think she's the right character to do it with.
I agree. It's great that she's not the XO anymore. It's nice to have somebody in that role that you feel like really has the chops for it with Saru. But again, like you said, are we going to end up simply seeing their old and animosity come back, or will that make for a great part of the story? That's something to look forward to. But with Tilly, it's just like she's so mamby-pamby, and she had some great episodes. She had some great moments, I think, last season, but so far this season, not really paying off for me. But anyway, at any rate, they're chasing down Javini, who is the warrior nun who is leading this cause. And they track her down to, kind of this alien graveyard where they find out that she is actually trying to save a race from extinction by powering up the life support unit of this world with the stolen dilithium, which I think is absolutely, it's super Star Trek. I like it. It's done well. And it's a play on the old fashioned, the ends justify the means. I don't know. I like this. I think this was kind of my of 3 episodes, my favorite of the 3 so far, I thought.
Yeah. I have a different take.
Okay, please. Yeah, you're hesitating, but I don't want you to. I want you to cut loose. That's why we're here.
I didn't like this one. With you saying it, like there's definitely stuff that it has going for it. Mm-hmm. Like the ends justify the means. Like I like when they bring that sort of stuff in. I'm a philosopher. I like seeing that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. But part of it is I don't like the Quat-Malat.
No, how come? No, break it down for me. Why not?
One is when they were first introduced, they felt contrived to me. Partially because it's just like, here's this new mysterious thing about Romulans. Romulans are always mysterious, but now it's like there's ninja nuns.
Okay. Because that was never a part of Romulan culture before. Right. They were warriors, but it was the Klingons who were like, we're gonna fucking kill everybody. We got big knives.
The thing for me is like Romulans
are all deceptive and sneaky.
The Romulans for me were always like the 1960s understanding of classical Rome. That was always how I saw the Romulans being written. Mm-hmm. And adding the Quat-Malat didn't really add to that.
Yeah.
So like I don't like the Quat-Malat for that. Mm-hmm. So when you bring the Quat-Malat in, that immediately makes me go, ugh. So part of it is just I don't like the Quat-Malat.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. That's a fair prospect.
I mean, and part of it also has to do with just like, so we now have a cause, and so now I'm a loose cannon. Mm-hmm. And I did kind of like and kind of not like how the Federation was, we're going to appease Navarre. Mm-hmm. I have to remember they call it Navarre now. Mm-hmm. Because it's
politics. Right?
Yeah.
It's politics,
so like, we're going to do this. And then she tells Burnham like, no, you're in charge. And then like, okay, I'm in charge now. And then we bring him back. And then it's like, oh, well, you can take her. We're not going to extradite her. oh, okay. So this is this whole big, like, I thought that was clever. I thought it was a strange sidestep of how Starfleet wanted to work, but at the same time, like, she's not a citizen of the Federation. The Federation and Starfleet has always been known to give up foreign nationals for whatever reason. So this is like something Starfleet always does,
Right.
And I was happy though because I like Admiral Vance, so I liked when he described that.
Or as we have referred to him on this program, thanks to my cohort Rich, Vance of Vance Refrigeration.
Nice.
From The Office, I guess. I don't know. It took me a while to get that, but it was the ongoing gaffe for many episodes.
The first place I saw him was in Blacklist, and he played a Mossad agent. So whenever I see him, I'm just like,
well, it's funny. My co-host Alex, who I started the show with, called it because he was from that actor originally was in The Mummy, so he was Ayatollah Asahola because he didn't really like him very much. So
yeah,
he's rife for plenty of nicknames. So
yeah.
So anyway, all right. So first 3 episodes in, how are we feeling about the season? Are we going in a good direction?
It's got bumps, so we'll see.
It's got bumps. I will agree. It's got, but maybe I just found a new name for the episode. It's got bumps. That's intriguing.
Yeah, it's got bumps. Like it could get better. Like the one thing that I kind of hope that they kind of figure out at some point is dilithium, because they keep using it as a fuel source and it's not.
Right,
like,
exactly.
It's not the worst thing ever, but it's just every time they do, it's like, deuterium, not dilithium. Deuterium's the fuel. Dilithium's the catalyst.
My goodness. So technical. Anyway, moving on to segment 2, which Peter, are you going to sing it? Am I going to get you singing?
It's been a long road.
Yay! Yes, we are getting into... very good. We're getting into our recap of Star Trek: The Original Series, Season 2, Part 2 of 4. We're covering another 6 episodes as we get into the sophomore season / sophomore slump. I don't know, of the original series.
Where we're at. Yep.
Yeah. We're not getting any of the good juicy ones. So anyway, we kick off with episode 7 of the season, Cat's Paw, which aired on October 27th of 1967. The Halloween episode. I'll take this one. 2 powerful aliens threaten the well-being of the Enterprise and her crew with their magical powers. Scotty, Sulu, and Jackson. It's Yeoman Johnson. Okay. From the landing party go missing on the planet known to be inhabited in this part of the system. Upon returning, Jackson gives Kirk a warning to leave the system right now. Kirk and Bones beam down to find the mysterious castle. Of course, a man and a woman, Korob and Sylvia, meet them and find that Korob and Sylvia are not this system. See, we're running into this again.
They're not from this system?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, come on. Thanks, Wikipedia or Memory Alpha. Boo! Are not from the system and have moved here with the intention of knowing more about the humans. Korob has good intentions, but Sylvia loses herself and captures Sulu, Scotty, Bones completely by mind control. Kirk uses his tricks of seduction, I added that part in, on Sylvia and gets the truth out and destroys her most powerful source, the transmuter, and frees everyone from their illusions. So Kirk can either talk a computer to death or he can talk the pants off a woman.
Yes. The funny thing about this is, as we've been watching season 2, I've been watching how Kirk does this. And like it's a very common belief that Kirk is a womanizer. And that's an easy thing to see. But the thing that I think is interesting about this is, as I've been watching this more and more, you can see how Kirk could use those tools for womanizing for sure. He could be a serial philanderer or whatever if he wanted to.
Philanderos.
Yeah, but it every time that Kirk does this, he's doing it to just put them off guard so he can save the crew. Every time he does it, and he does it 5 or 6 times this season.
He's like I said, if he's not talking a computer to death, he's talking a woman out of something by using his
he's like, I am charming, let me charm you so that I can get what I want. Like you're holding a weapon, let me kiss you, and then you'll be like, oh, this is so wonderful. Now I have your phaser.
Chop!
Ha!
Yeah.
Die.
Chop! Exactly. This episode also gave us the first appearance of Walter Koenig as Chekhov. Was added in the second season of the show because I believe Gene Roddenberry had, if I remember the story correctly, had read an article in a Russian newspaper saying, oh, they got this international crew, but there's no Russian on the bridge. So they hired American actor to do a Russian accent. They also gave him an absolutely totally
Awful
perfect
haircut.
Davy Jones wig, which he had for, I believe, at least this episode.
Yeah,
And then
it got better.
Yeah, he
It got a better one.
transitioned into a hairstyle that looked a little bit more like the rest of the crew. But yeah, in that first episode, it was the monkeys. They wanted him to be
he's wearing a tribble on his head.
Davy Jones. Tribble wearing a tribble on his head. Just got a new name of the wearing a tribble on his head. There we go. Numbers. New episode title. We're just gonna keep rolling with this. I love it. Peter, roll us into episode 8, if you would be so kind.
All right. Episode 8, I Mud. Captain Kirk and the crew have a second of 3 run-ins with the con man Harry Mudd, this time finding him as the king of a planet of androids. Enterprise is captured by an android, which takes the entire crew to an uncharted planet in the galaxy. Kirk, Spock, Bones, Uhura, Scotty, and Chekhov land with the android on the planet to find Harry Mudd as the king of the planet and about 200,000 androids to serve him. He reveals that the androids want to learn about humans and serve humans and demand more specimens. Harry Mudd plans to leave the entire crew of the Enterprise behind and take the starship. By unraveling the weak points of the androids, the crew of the Enterprise damage the main control unit, Norman, reprogram the androids to serve their original purpose of settling the planet, gain control of the Enterprise, and leave Harry Mudd behind to live with the humorous androids.
The humorous androids. So yeah, this was a spin on kind of a non-serious-ish episode. Yeah, we get Harry Mudd back. Obviously, we saw him early in season 1 with Mudd's women, the women who took these gelatinous pills,
special pills that
made them appear more attractive or whatever. But yeah, this was all really played for laughs. You get a lot of great lines in this one. I think I enjoyed this one thoroughly.
I mean, Harry Mudd is just great.
Right.
He's just your average. Well, he's not average. He's just a very strange space pirate.
Right. Exactly. And he's so the Harry Mudd character obviously goes on to be played by Rainn Wilson in Discovery, and then I'm going to assume subsequently Strange New Worlds. But this episode also gives us an android recreation of his delightful wife, Stella. Yeah, who we do also end up seeing in Discovery. In conjunction with. Harry Mudd.
That's right. Yeah.
So yeah, this was a fun episode. I dug it.
It's great. It's silly.
It's silly. It's good to have silly. Not that we get a lot of great balance. The next episode is slightly more serious, but still.
I like this one.
I think I did too. Episode 9 is Metamorphosis, which aired in November of 1967. A shuttle crew from the Enterprise encounters a castaway. And again, you got a shuttlecraft wandering through space with the top 3 officers on the ship and some random commissioner, which I guess a commission, in Federation parlance, you have a commissioner versus an ambassador. I don't know what the difference is, but it's a real weird compliment to have the captain of the ship, the science officer / first officer, the medical officer, this commissioner woman, and no other staff. No security, no an administrator. It doesn't make any damn sense. But anyway, they encounter a castaway as they end up on a planet who appears to be Zephram Cochrane, who looks absolutely nothing like he does in First Contact, because how could he? The inventor of warp drive and his mysterious alien companion, Kirk, Bones, and Spock, and the disease-stricken officer. Disease-stricken officer?
She's not an officer.
Yeah, so you're referring to, obviously, the commissioner. She's disease-stricken. Are brought down to the planet en route where they meet Zephram Cochrane, who's recorded to have been dead for 150 years. Cochrane explains to the companion the mysterious energy field keeps him alive, fit, and recently decided that he needed a companion. After investigating and challenging the alien companion, Kirk is able to identify that the companion had feelings for Cochrane and finds a way to get the Enterprise get back to the Enterprise in a surprisingly romantic episode, which doesn't tell you how it ends. I
No.
got to find something different about these descriptions. These are terrible.
Yeah.
But
I'll
within
see if
the
I can find some,
episode,
too.
within the episode, the companion inhabits the dying Commissioner Nancy Hedford, who then hooks up with Cochrane, and they end up staying on the planet. And it's then Kirk, Spock, and McCoy get away, but they keep their secret. So I did like it. Kirk had a nice soliloquy at the end about talking about surviving versus living. I liked it. I liked it very much. It was a good episode. It wasn't silly. And again, it's probably my favorite moments at all in TOS are when Kirk gets these great speeches. Some of my favorite of which are in, and we'll get to it in a couple of episodes from now when we get to the episode, The Omega Glory, which is one that April and I play every 4th of July. It's on our 4th of July playlist because it's a riff on, when he starts to recite the Constitution at the end of that episode. I love it when
we in the plebinista.
Yes, exactly. For all people. Yes, no, I do. I like a good riff when Shatner gets rolling. I think that really plays out. That really plays out.
That's one of the good things about the original series for sure, but like Star Trek has its moments where the captains, usually some other people too, but generally the captains get their moments of like, I'm going to stand on my soapbox and I'm going to tell you how it is. And they're usually really good. Like,
right. Totally. Yeah. Picard had many.
One of my favorites for Picard is the first duty. That's
the
probably
first duty
his best
is
one.
To the truth, whether it's personal truth or scientific truth
or historical truth.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, good stuff. We'll get there eventually. But anyway, I love it. And again, my favorite parts of TOS is when Kirk really gets to do his thing. And he gets a little bit of that talking about the Klingons in this next episode. So Peter, go ahead.
Journey to Babel.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
You're thinking Friday's Child.
Okay, all right. Go back. All right. This is a pivotal episode, but it's also one. It also one that raises a weird question, which I'll get to in a sec. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Journey to Babel is the 10th episode, aired in November 17th, 1967, written by the wonderful DC Fontana.
Oh yeah.
While transporting dignitaries to an important peace conference, the Enterprise is pursued by a mysterious vessel, and an assassin is discovered among the passengers. The Enterprise has been instructed to carry multiple dignitaries to the planet Babel, but mysterious killings begin on the starship after a quarrel between Spock's father and another diplomat. Kirk is also attacked by the assassin, and Spock takes charge of the Enterprise, but an ethical dilemma comes up when Spock's father is injured by the assassin and needs Spock's blood for an operation.
That is not what happened, but okay.
No. No. Kirk and Bones make a plan that allows Spock to assist in the operation. They fight off the assassin's plan and assist the starship. I mean, loosely speaking, sure, that's what happens. But
very loosely. My big problem with this episode, we're introduced to Spock's father, Sarek, to his mother, Amanda. This is episode 10. In episode 1, we visit Vulcan for the first time. Spock has to go through the Ponfar, the ritual challenge. Where the hell were his parents during that thing? They must have been on a trip, right? Yeah. You know what? Okay. All right. I answered my own question. He's a diplomat. He's the Federation ambassador to Vulcan. They were on a trip.
Yep.
Because it never made sense to me at all until now.
No. Yeah, that's probably because otherwise, yeah. For Sarek and Amanda to be MIA at Spock's potential wedding, that's just
right.
Very
and
weird.
Even though Spock and Sarek were estranged, which is really illustrated in this episode, you think his mother would show up, but again, the way that Ponfar happens, it's like, nope, we're doing this now, and if they were on a mission together somewhere and they were 200 light years away, they're not going to make it back in time.
No.
Anyway, back to talking about the episode, an absolute classic of the series.
Yes.
We meet Tellarites for the first time. We meet Andorians for the first time, 2 founding members of the Federation, which is awesome.
Yep. The Tellarites are like, this is where we first get a taste of how they're characterized, and their characterization does not change. Like you go all the way to Enterprise. Yeah, the makeup gets better. Right. The makeup gets better, but the characterization, how they're just like, stubborn stinkheads, that stays the same. And it's just like, it's so amazing. And I have seen like people role play as Tellarites. Like once you get in your head how to be a Tellarite, you're a Tellarite. It's who they are.
Sarek has a line in this, and again, speaking of the Tellarite, where he says, the Tellarite throws down, and Sarek says, threats are illogical, and payment is usually expensive. Oh, shit! I got to find a way to work that into a conversation with somebody like my
Derek has a
ex-wife
couple good
someday.
burns in this one.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, he does. He gets the kind of that subtle needling of the little Vulcan logic. So
the one thing that I thought was a little strange in this episode, just from continuity later on, is how Sarek and Amanda are always walking around with their hands joined,
right,
and like it was just supposed to be a limited way to hold hands because it was like Vulcans don't touch each other. Okay, yeah,
right.
But then in Star Trek 3, it's very clear that that's kind of like a foreplay, as it were. And so for me, it's just one of those like, okay, so are we just like holding hands, or are we like, humans don't know what this is? Like, it was just one of like, I hadn't really thought about that, and then I was watching the episode and I saw them do that. I was like, oh wait, oh no, what is going on here? Like, obviously they hadn't thought of that when the episode happened because the movie didn't come out until much later. But it was just one of those like, huh.
So it's kind of Vulcan. Oh man, now you're messing with me about the name of the episode, but that's okay. We'll move on to episode 11 of the season, Friday's Child, which I proposed, December of 1967. Again, written by D.C. Fontana. The crew of the Enterprise becomes entangled in a planet's tribal power struggle. Upon landing and seeing a Klingon, one crew member is killed by the tribe when he acts aggressively, so that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
In an interesting turn of events, the leader of the 10 tribes is killed, and Ma'ab, who is the young upstart who challenged him, takes charge, and he supports the Klingon and not the Earth people. Okay, not our Earth people. What the hell? Yeah, Earthman. Earthman
bad.
Yeah, right. Eileen, come on, Eileen, come on, Eileen. I just found a new name of the episode. Along with the landing part, Eileen being the young wife of the
now deceased
leader, goes on the run with Kirk, Spock, and Bones into the mountains to escape death, but they can't contact the Enterprise, so they've got to play a little cat and mouse to survive. They manage to hide out. The child is delivered, but they're able to expose the Klingons' true intention, and the Klingon zaps Mob and kills him, but then the Klingon is killed as well. And the baby is now becomes the leader of this planet. I mean, it's kind of a cool riff on
his mother as the regent.
Yeah, I think, exactly. So it's kind of a cool riff on the fact that non-Federation planets, humanoid physiology, but not human values, not Federation Starfleet values really comes into play. You don't see a ton of it with aliens like this, but this is cool. I kind of like the tribe. It's very Klingon, which in some ways it seems kind of weird how the Klingons is potentially an underdeveloped aspect of how the characters work, how this guy isn't able to really fit in with kind of the tribal concepts of honor and so that seems kind of weird. Plus this Klingon is bald. He looks like somebody's accountant pal, you know what I mean? He just he does. He looks like your tennis coach painted brown.
I forget his name, but it's almost like,
I'm not
Kiroth,
sure.
son of Bozo, was sent here to like save his family's honor because he stepped in Targ's water bowl and spilled it all over the house. I don't know. Like it seems like
Kiroth, son of Bozo. New name of the episode.
Yeah, there you go.
Good work.
So that's what it looks like.
I like it. I liked the episode, but overall, the Klingon character was the piece that didn't fit.
Yeah, he was like the rest of it's pretty good. I really quite enjoyed what they did with McCoy and Eliane, or I forget how her name is. Like how he's like this is your child. It's not just the chief's child. It's your kid too. Like take ownership of that. And then it was like, this is our child, and Kirk and Spock just like, what? And McCoy's like,
what?
Oh.
Ooga. Oh man, weird stuff.
Another one of those like, hey, let's stick an awkward thing in here and make everyone stare at each other, which is
right.
Sometimes it works in original series, and other times it's like, eh.
Yeah, exactly. Another trope to be played out. So, all right, next one's you.
The Deadly Years aired in December 8th, 1967 by David P. Harmon. Strong radiation exposes the command crew of the Enterprise to the effects of rapid aging. The landing party, Chekhov, Kirk, Spock, Bones, Scotty, and oh look, it doesn't even give her name.
And other
Crew member. She's not a red shirt though; she's wearing blue.
right.
Divide into small teams to find the planet's inhabitants. Chekhov enters a building and screams when he sees a dead man and runs outside
He
and
does
calls the
go. He
others.
does go full Home Alone. Agreed.
Yes, he does. It was one of those like, oh boy, it's scenes like that date the episode.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. The landing party meets two other people who are old in appearance but young in age. Bones concludes the analysis and says the two other people have only a few days to live because their bodily functions are aging about 30 years a day. Same thing begins to happen to the landing party upon getting back to the Enterprise. Scotty, Bones, Spock, Kirk start to get old, except Chekhov. There's the commas.
Too many commas. Too many commas.
This inhibits the decision-making abilities of Captain Kirk, and the Commodore aboard the Enterprise takes command of the ship and makes...
the Commodore, was it Lionel Richie? All night long. Okay, all right, go ahead.
He takes command of the ship and makes poor decisions, which lead the Enterprise into the neutral zone and a standoff with Romulans.
Womp womp.
Yeah. Desk jockey takes command of the ship. Good idea. Bones manages to find a vaccine in the nick of time containing adrenaline that Spock and the members of the sickbay readily test and give to Kirk, who resumes command of the Enterprise and tricks the Romulans, saving the Enterprise. He once again pulls basically the Corbomite maneuver.
Oh, yes, exactly. Why get new tricks when the old tricks work so good on different people who don't know them? Exactly. I loved it. I enjoyed this one. It was a good trick. Yeah. You get yet another one of Kirk's conquests, which is not Janice Lesser, but what was her name in this episode?
Janice Rand? No. No. Oh.
It doesn't say her name in here, so we're in deep shit. But anyway, yet another blonde girl. Another one of Kirk's blonde girls. This one who I didn't think she was particularly pretty, but whatever. But Kirk, and he poured a storm. But regardless, I liked it. I think they really struggled with the old age makeup, but again, this was 1967.
Yeah, I always find it amusing when that happens. Dr. Wallace.
Oh, Janet. Is it Janet
Janet Wallace?
There
Janet
we go.
Wallace, yeah.
And she was one of the ones, it was a name that was thrown out when in Star Trek 2, where we got Carol Marcus. They thought it could be Janet Wallace instead. And that was one of those in the script that went back and forth I read. But yeah, the old age makeup, it's like, this doesn't look so great. But again, if you jump forward to the season 2 episode of TNG, which Katie Quinn and I are going to talk about in the new year when she shares the show with me, and we're going through those episodes. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, I can't remember the name of the episode because so much of season 2 of TNG was like,
There's another aging episode.
Yeah, exactly. I think the aging makeup in that was just as bad as this, and it was apart by 20 years.
It's a little better because it's more prosthesis.
Yeah,
and so it's not like obvious makeup lines.
Powder. Yeah, exactly.
But it's still a little iffy.
But I love the, I like this, and you're right. It's kind of funny. It's like, oh well, I can take command. And it's funny, the guys at the Commodore is a red shirt, which you don't see. You don't see a lot of. Usually, when you see flag officers, they're all really of command. They're all of command rank. So that's kind of different.
Yeah, but I think Commodore Stone also wore red.
Commodore. Commodore Stone. Yes, I was thinking of Commodore Mendez from the Menagerie.
Not Mendez.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, but anyway, now we're really into the weeds here. But yeah, I like this episode. It was fun. The makeup was not fantastic, but in the end of it, Spock was the only one who didn't age very fast. But still, he started to be like, it's too drafty in here. Didn't he make a comment like that? It's like
it's too cold. He said that multiple times. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, exactly.
But I did like how they had the whole thing of how they had to have the trial to relieve Kirk of command.
Right.
And where you had like Kirk was struggling to remain in command, because it's one of those things where like that it wasn't the point of the episode, but I thought it was interesting how it shows how when you get older, you don't want to let things go, right? You don't want to admit that I can't do this anymore. Like, and everyone's going to reach that point where it's like the classic one is, should I drive anymore? Well, there's going to be a point where you probably shouldn't, you know?
You're probably going to just drive into something that's not going to be a good thing. Yeah.
Your reaction time is just bad.
Because you end up seeing all of these same characters age to maybe not exactly this old, but I mean, McCoy did, because you saw him in Encounter at Farpoint, the first episode of TNG, and he was wearing some similarly really shitty age makeup. So kind of makes you, and it looks very similar. So maybe they really took that into account when they were designing the makeup of him for this episode.
Just as a sidebar, I always find it interesting in my head to just imagine what would happen if they like went back and reinserted the correct aged actors into the scene.
Right, exactly.
Like for the one that I really think about is All Good Things, because that's one where you could totally do it. Because the cameras are about the same. Well, actually, it's not the same, but you could imitate it better and upgrade.
Particularly dreadful. Even if you look at Jonathan Frakes, like he still had the hair that he had back then, but if you look at him in season 1 of Picard, he doesn't have that hair.
No, but
he has natural hair. You know, his hair.
Yeah, but I always find it interesting to compare like how the aging thought they would look and what they look like now.
Yeah,
like some of them are fairly close. Like LeVar Burton in that one actually is pretty close. I know this is like TNG, but like every once in a while the aging makeup gets it right. But I always find it interesting to think about what if they took like, this is 25 years in the future. Well, if we go 25 years from the filming of this episode and reshoot some of those scenes and put them back in. Or you
do like a deep fake, which is so popular. You know, you see like, oh, look at this deep fake. Somebody put, you know, Brad Pitt on the face of Humphrey Bogart. I don't know, or something like that. You know what I mean? So yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Well, look at that, Peter. You're a techie guy. You got a project now. Go for it.
Machine learning.
I don't like it. All right, I'm going to take us home. Episode 13 is Obsession. Na 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 near. I know, Peter, you sang with me. I'm impressed. Mostly, you know, that is one thing I miss about having Erin on the show. She and I would bust loose, but sometimes it would get a little too crazy. So I'm glad you're here to rein me in, because that ended up being my job sometimes on the different shows I do. But Obsession dropped on December 15 of 67, written by Art Wallace. Captain Kirk becomes obsessed with destroying a murderous entity, a cloud, that killed many of the crew on his old ship, the Farragut. I remember that correctly? 11 years prior. So when he was young, you know, he was a lieutenant. He was a young man. After finding a mysterious cloud that quickly kills 3 crew members, Kirk determines to find a way to understand this thing, stop it from spreading to more planets, and to destroy it. Kirk recalls his past experience with the cloud a few years ago. On a different mission on the other side of the galaxy, his obsession starts to interfere with his decision-making as the captain, and prompts a medical record from Bones and Spock. Or what I like to refer to as a come-to-Jesus talk. Soon Spock and Bones realize why Kirk is obsessed with the cloud. The Enterprise begins attacking the cloud, only to realize that can they say the cloud more and maybe potentially let's
at least twice more.
Could we put cloud in maybe every like 4th word? Cloud is not attempting to run away Cloud, and manages to enter the air circulation cloud system of the Enterprise. Kirk, Spock, and Cloud Bones devise a way to finally destroy the cloud. Oh, so much cloud. Which there was an early episode of Voyager that was called The Cloud.
So many clouds.
So many clouds. I dug it. You know, it's character insight into Kirk. You know, he usually has his head on a swivel, as it were. And in this episode, he was kind of being, you know, he was kind of off the rails. You know, he was reliving this past failure that he couldn't get over. And what does Thanos say? You could not live with your own failure. Where did it bring you? Back to me. Yeah. Back to the cloud.
Yeah. Fun thing that when I was watching this episode that I remembered, I know they're not terribly popular, but after Generations came out, there was a series of books ghostwritten by William Shatner about Kirk surviving.
Right.
And there's
the Kirkiverse,
yes, the Shatnerverse, as it's known, which are, you know, they're not the best, but they're entertaining. But in the first book, Ashes of Eden,
it's one of my favorites.
They're testing a
holodeck where
they're testing a holodeck where he does this. He goes through this exact scenario on the ferry.
And and it's funny in the illustrated version, of which I still have the trade paperback. His cohort on the Farragut, who also survived, ended up being the main villain of that story. Sorry, spoiler alert from back in 1995. I love that story. That's a great story.
Yeah, it's a good story.
And again, the graphic novel is obviously a lot shorter than the
I actually didn't
the
know
fully
that there was
fleshed
a
out
graphic.
novel.
That there was a graphic
Absolutely.
novel.
It's I would be happy to lend it to you just because you and I are local, because it's out of print. I don't know where you would even find it, but yeah, no, it's a great read. That was during the DC Comics run of Star Trek, which I followed very closely. And drawn by Gordon Purcell, who's an artist that I actually am friends with on Facebook. I've always loved his stuff.
Nice.
But yeah, no, super cool story. But yeah, you're right. This does kind of come back.
Yeah, so it's like this is a very pivotal part of what makes Captain Kirk.
Right.
Like it comes up a lot, and so I just thought that was interesting how even in non-canon material, it still shows up as like this is a pivotal moment for Captain Kirk. This is what helps him make his decisions. And so yeah, you're right, it's a very, very cool character episode.
It's the record scratch and the freeze, like, oh, if I could just think back to where it all started.
It's like tapestry for
I'm pulling out the tapestry, the Nausicaan sword through the heart.
Yeah.
All right, so that is 6 episodes wrapping up. So Peter, highs and if you were to give these 6 episodes a rating of 1 to 10 Klingon daggers chucked at your head, what would you give it? As a group. Yes, as a micro. Let's call it a micro season. What rating would you give it?
I would probably give it a 7, 6 or 7. Mostly like it's got some good ones, but then there's some that are like
the bad outweighs the good. Yeah,
I mean it. Well, maybe an 8, but Cat's Paw is just so awful.
Yeah, that it really does. It really does. And Metamorphosis.
I like it.
I like Kirk's speech at the end, but the rest of the episode it's just kind of dumb. And nothing makes it worse than these summaries that I find. So I really do need to tap out a different.
If you're getting them from Memory Alpha, like come on, Memory Alpha, you've got good. Like
I think what I do to just do the cut and paste is that I type in like episode listing of season 2, and then so I'm gonna try it just because it's easy for me to cut and paste it. But we're just gonna have to continue to be. You know what? It keeps us on our toes. It
means that we have to re-explain it, which gives us something to talk about.
Exactly, which made this episode that much longer. So, all right. With that being said, Peter, if you would do the honors.
For more information about Starfleet International, please visit Grand Petoskey and or Region 13 on Facebook.
Oh, yes. My friends, thank you as always for joining us. I'm going to tell you, as always, that sharing is caring and to keep on trekking.
Peace and long life.
Code 47 is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for our great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, or the podcast platform of your choice. If you would like to be part of the conversation, visit our new Discord server, or join us on Facebook, or follow us at Secret Friends U on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends on YouTube, and don't forget to visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.